Hello, how are you today? Let's talk. Today's topic is about prototyping. Do you need a prototype? When do you need a prototype? What's a fair price? Why would you need a prototype, basically, is the point of this video. So let's just go through it point by point. First is, prototypes are great once you get it in your hand. Once you're able to have something in your actual hand, you can use it and test it. That's a marvelous experience. It's one thing to have an idea, a vision for something. It's completely different to turn that idea into something that you can physically hold, physically use, interact with, and test it on all the levels that you want the product to be tested on. Of course you want the product to do what it's intended to do. Of course you do. But you want it to look good too. You want it to look like something a person would buy. You want it to be used fairly easily. It's got to be user-friendly. If it's in your hand, you want it to feel good in the hand. So that's the first step, just getting it in your hand, making sure it works, making sure you like it. It's your idea, your baby. So you want it to pass that test first. Next, what's amazing about prototypes is that once you have one, you have full reign to make an endless suite of content. You can make videos, you can make postings, you can make so many different pieces of content with it. It's mind-boggling how many things you can do with a prototype. You can actually demonstrate it at a moment's notice, show it to your customers, show it to investors, show it to companies. If you want to partner or find a partner, you can show it to them. The benefits really start stacking up once you have a prototype, because now you can demonstrate it just like that to anybody who would help you in the long run, would help you in the process. Next is, once it's physical, you can actually not just have it in your hand, you can get it in the hands of your customers. And that's amazing because you'll be able to watch them use it, see how much they enjoy it, see how their lives are impacted just by using the product. You want it to be something that, you can watch them, see the excitement. You want it to generate excitement. You want it to be something they willingly go out and buy, whether you're involved in it or not. If it's on a store shelf, is it something that they'll buy just by seeing it? Ideally, we want that to happen. So having a prototype is amazing because you'll be able to hand it to people, let them use it, and gather real life feedback. And you can't really do that without a prototype. There's other ways, but a prototype solves it instantly. You're able to get that feedback instantly. Next is, you can demonstrate it to other companies. It's not just your customers or yourself. You can demonstrate it to companies, investors. If you want to raise funds, you can go to funding platforms and demonstrate it there and get some early adopters, people that buy the product before it's ready. But having a prototype is going to take away from the concern of it being real. Once it's made, that's proof. It works. Now, let's make sure people are willing to buy this and buy it in the quantities that you're looking for. You can also go to events and trade shows and other groups and demonstrate it. You can go to places where industry experts are who are familiar with this market, and you can gain their feedback too. And at some point, you're going to amass so much feedback from yourself, from the potential customers, from all these other resources. You're going to have a big bundle of information that it basically validates the market. It tells you if this is a truly a good investment. It tells you if this is something you should push further. I've seen some silly products be successful. If I could tell you if something was going to be successful or not just by looking at it, I would. But there's been so many instances where I wouldn't know the potential of it until something's been made and you've gotten into the hands of customers and you've documented that and you've consolidated that into some type of report or some type of summary that says, hey, not only do I love this product and it works the way I want, but my customers love it and all these other people love it. And it looks great too. Look at it. Here it is. Take a look at this. Now, let's get into costs. I've done prototypes for as little as $100. This is just a small amount of equipment that I have. This is basic 3D printing, and it's very useful, but I've got so many other ways to make products as well. It just depends on what it is and what materials are recommended for it. Does it require a mold? There's vacuum forming, there's metal bending, tons of little processes that are going to help make a prototype, make a fine prototype. But cost. I've done some for as little as $100. I've done one, I was involved in a project just for the prototype was $400,000. Tremendous amount of money. It was a new type of transmission system. But here's the catch. The cost of a prototype depends on three things. It depends on how many parts are involved in its assembly, how many custom parts, how physically large is the product, and also how complex is the design. You wouldn't believe it, but if you wanted to create a new screw or a new nail, something simple, you hammer it in the wall or screw it in the wall, it sounds simple, right? How long have screws been around? Been around for a very long time. So to actually improve a screw after hundreds of years, I can't say with certainty when the concept of a nail originated. I know it's freakishly old and it's a concept that's been around for a long time. But to improve on something like that would take quite a bit of work. So that's one of those projects that on the outset looks simple, but it turns out to be much more complicated. If you wanted to make it something that lasts longer or screws deeper or bends less or maybe bends more, maybe it absorbs shock better. There's so many little aspects of a product that you can improve upon. And a nail, believe it or not, is one of the projects I consider complex, because if you're truly trying to improve on it, it's going to take some engineering work, some significant engineering work. Now, if you're working on just a simple plastic product, of course that's going to be a lot less expensive, especially if it has no moving parts. If it has no moving parts, it's plastic, it's small, you're going to be paying a lot less than if it's an electronic phone connected device, maybe a software-based thing as well. There's just layers to it. So the more layers, just like an onion, the more layers, the more complexity, the more challenging it gets, the more work that needs to be done, and that affects the cost directly. So if you need a prototype, reach out to me. I'm a product strategy coach, but most of my experience is in building products, getting them to manufacturing, and helping with the marketing side of it. So taking the concept, refining it to something that's more feasible, potentially something that's going to be less costly to produce, physically making a sample, sending it to you, making sure you love it, making sure your customers love it, getting into the costing for the manufacturing, figuring out what's reasonable, making sure there's profit margins that are going to be efficient for business. You want to make sure there's enough profit margin. I mean, go figure. You want to make sure there's enough money in this deal to make sense of all the effort. And of course, your marketing. Marketing's key. It's a big part of it. But let's focus now on getting an actual sample, getting something that's real, getting something in your hand that actually works and you can demonstrate and you can use for a myriad of applications. So contact me in LinkedIn, one of the best ways to do it. Catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.